Assalamu alaikum. We'll wait until he passes his handouts out. I just want to say this. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Is this going to be on YouTube Live?
Yes, it's on now.
It's on live now.
Okay.
Again, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. With Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his servant and his messenger. Now, I want to say something about Imam Tamir before getting started. I know that he and his wife worked in education in Colombia. And when you all moved, Imam Omar called me and said, "You got two good people that's coming your way." You know, he said, "They're workers." And you've proven to be a worker. And so I have an affinity with people who are patient and people who work. I'm not just talking about people who talk, but people who show their belief through their work. You know, and you've proven that to me. I'll pray to Allah. All right, so we're going to, and also he works in education. He's not in that Johnson C. Smith no more, right? No, it's chapel. That was a gift from what's his name, Donnie Shell.
Yeah.
You know, so I worked with him for a while there, and then we left the position there because of our help. You know, but they defunded that position. And I mentioned that because he loves working with young people, and you all can see it in the, you know, reflected in their children. Right now, Ibn is working with us on the summit. The spiritual and social development summit, and we're going to do whatever we can to make that successful. You know, so we just want to, inshallah, that all of us here, all of us register for that summit. Imam Tamir, we're going to give you the mic. That's something.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين Ramadan Mubarak and Assalamu alaikum. Brothers and sisters, I wanted to bring something out from the Quran that you may have studied, you may have seen it and pondered on it, but I was motivated or inspired to take it a step further, and I want to, you know, share that with you because it became bigger than I thought it was going to be. But there's one verse in the Quran. This is Surah 74, and it reads, Alayha tis'ata ashar, and that's Arabiya for over it or 19. Over it or 19. Now, I'd like this to be a discussion. You know, you can stop me at any time, because I think when you hit with something, I want you to remember it. You know, so you can ask. You just hold your hand up and ask me at any time. But over it or 19. And I was surprised when I saw in the research that we were taught in school that we had 5 senses. That's what we were taught in school. And before I go any further, I always forget things. I do want to commend the two young ladies who spoke earlier. It warms my heart. I love it. That's what we work for. That's what we work for. That's what we go out and work for 30 and 40 years. A lot of us are retired now. But that's what we work for. And it saddens me when we lose anyone. We don't want to lose anyone. I always make an effort to remind the young where they come from. I say, don't leave your community, man. Don't just walk off. You know, come around sometime, you know. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But we all have to make an effort to keep our young people in Al-Islam. Okay. We were taught we had 5 senses. That limited us greatly. That limited us greatly. I think the biggest downside of the public school system is that they don't teach anything about the inner person. Seldom do you get taught anything about the inner person. Only a few schools now even mention maybe meditation or something like that, you know. But when we begin to look at this over it or 19, and on the surface of it, they say that means the 19 angels who are guarding the hellfire, you know. But it goes further than that. I looked at Razi, he was a Quranic commentator, Ibn Tamir and others, and Imam Muhammad, of course. All right? And here's what Imam Muhammad says about the angels. Imam Muhammad says his definition is angel, an existence that is to serve the human being and help the human being get to the victory. That's Imam Muhammad's definition of angel. Now, where did that come from? Remember some of this good earth? Remember the book, Some of This Good Earth? And the sister put the definitions from Imam Muhammad's lectures? That's where I got that from. So he says, an existence that is to serve man, or the human being, and get the victory. An existence that responds automatically to good. Okay? The angelic is to hear and obey. Don't we also have that command from the Quran? We hear and we obey. All right? So the angelic is to hear and obey. We don't let our thinking come into the picture. Okay? It's the divine quality. So, Imam Muhammad and several other of the earlier commentators, they said that's not just angels guarding over the hellfire. That's you. And instead of 5 senses, the Quran is also saying you got 19 senses. I'm going to say that again, because I want you to go and do some research and convince yourself rather than just listening to me. Okay? But instead of 5 senses, the human being has 19 senses. Now imagine how just that by itself would change the school system if teachers were conscious of that. But the teachers are bought on 5 senses. Okay? And I listed the 19 senses in the handout that I gave you. That's what I came up with as the 19 senses. And if you notice, some of these senses, a dog can do this, can do those. A dog, don't, yes sir, go ahead. I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry, he's got one for you. Yeah, right there, right. Alhamdulillah. Okay. As you look at the list, you see that the lower animals can do some of these senses. Reproduction. All right? Gravitation to go toward what benefits us. Now, when the human being stops doing that, something's wrong, don't you think? You got a problem. If you've been taught, you going to gravitate toward what hurts you? No. Cohesion is to draw together when there is a need to benefit the group. Animals can do that. Don't wolves run in a pack? Coyotes, they got coyotes on the south side down there, right? Coyotes run in a pack. Okay? So they see that the group benefits. One coyote don't want to go after that big deer. You get 5 or 10 of them, that deer got problems. You see? All right? Repulsion of noxious foreign matter is to avoid or reject material that is uncomfortable. Right? You know what I thought about? I thought about, some of us grew up in the country, right? And you go out there and you step in some manure. And you say, oh man, I gotta take care of this, And you miss it, go back in the house and mama smell that stuff. You got a big problem then, boy. You got a serious problem. You see, so that's a sense. And not only with the physical, and I won't go through all of these, but some of them are, we're going to touch on some of them. All right? Hearing, not just a physical sound, but also to hear the word of the one in a spiritual mode, and one is capitalized, meaning Allah. You see, so we hear, but we don't hear. We listen sometimes, and then we can hear. You think a person's not listening, but they read in on it. You know, they may look away or do something else. Depends on the culture. You know, I can remember we had a problem interviewing Native Americans because they wouldn't look at the person. And in the European culture, if you won't look at a person, you got a problem. You know, you're probably not going to get the job. You got to look at them. You know, yeah, that's how they operate. So you got to know that. You know, if you're looking on the floor, that's not going to work. It's not going to work. You see. So what I did was, being a teacher, I connected Bloom's taxonomy, and I'll explain what that is. You got it on the last sheet, the 7 operations. That's also called Bloom's taxonomy, and it's how we use certain areas to cultivate, to bring whatever's inside of the student, to bring that out. Okay? For example, knowledge. The first one there is knowledge. If a person has even a little bit of knowledge, they're going to do certain things. Okay? Knowledge. And what Bloom did, he would say, he would give the ways that a person can acquire knowledge and the means. For example, I'll just do number 1. It says knowledge, it says to select, to list, to name, to define, to describe, to memorize, to label, identify, locate. When you're making up a test for your student, you can use any one of those on that test to see where the student is. You see. So label, identify, locate, recite, state, recognize. That's the ways that it can be done. The means are events, people. Now when I say events and people, what does that go back to? Remember the sister was talking about travel? When you get exposure, you're gonna score higher on the SAT. If you've been to Hawaii, if you've been to Africa, if you've been to China and you've seen the Great Wall, there's questions you can answer you probably forgot, you know, that'll come back up once a certain question is asked of you. So events are important and travel is important. But I have to remind you, sister, when you said that, a hadith came to my mind. There's a hadith where Prophet Muhammad said travel is torture. And I can see where he's coming from, you know, because, you know, it can be difficult traveling, you know, it can be very difficult. And I'm sure you who have been on Hajj, some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Okay? So the means are events, people, recordings, videos, plays, film strips. These are, what do you see there? That's how the teacher is training them and getting them ready for that test. You see? And if you can, newspapers are great, magazines, television, and all of that. You know, I used to love it when my teacher would assign a TV program for us to look at. Sometimes. You know, sometimes they were hard to look at. But I have had some teachers who, they use TV to teach. And that's powerful. What else are you doing? You're using TV for something good rather than something that, because anybody with half a brain can see that the TV programs today, most all the problems are solved with guns. The police are shooting somebody shooting at the police, and that's how they solve the problem. So no wonder that we got the situation we got now. You see? TV is not all of the problem, but it's certainly part of it. Okay? Over it at 19. The angel situation, the next few minutes is going to be very important, because most of us in our community and in some other communities, they view angels in a mysterious kind of way. You know, you read the hadith, you see Prophet Muhammad saw Jibril and he had 600 wings and they spread across the horizon. You know, you kind of spooked. you get spooked out if you can't take everything literal. And that's one of the points we're trying to make. All right. So let's look at. I want to look at what Imam Muhammad said about angels, and then we want to tell it apart. kind of look at it and see where we are with it. Because some of it could be uncomfortable for some people. Because if you've seen angels in one way your whole life, you know, and we're told they're made from light, we're told they can become like a human, and they can, you know, one brother was preaching, he said the angel come if you don't eat, that's an angel. Because he was told that the angels didn't eat, right? You know, so we have things that we need to kind of go back over and get a solid outlook on that situation. All right, and the other thing is, that's the second article of faith. So we have to believe in the angels. You see, we believe in the angels. That's the second article, is belief in the angels. Most Muslims see angels as they are literally described in the Quran and the Hadith. They picture them as heavenly or spiritual beings that have been created from actual light or from a special light from Allah's presence, Nurullahi, and given 2, 3, 4 wings, and if you accept Hadith accounts, they may have as many as 600 wings. Allah sends these angels on various missions and commands, and they may take on various human or other forms to carry out their missions and commands. All right, isn't that that's our basic outlook? But Imam Muhammad, he kind of gave a different kind of outlook on it, and I'll give that to you now. Imam Muhammad says, now there are many angels of God, and many angels of God. God has angels serving him in the heavens, angels that are agents, forces working behind and in those things that we see operating in the heavens. But we can't see those things operating. The forces that are responsible for their operation, you see. So there are also angels that work in the skies or in the higher regions of the physical creation. Once man with his I'm trying to get it to stop it from ringing. I'll put it down, sir. Maybe that'll be better. Okay. That better? Yes, that's better. Okay. Okay. But until man discovers them in the light of his knowledge, he calls them angels, meaning that they work for God, but they work outside his or man's sight. I can't see it, so it's an angel. But once my vision is expanded and my knowledge is expanded to capture the forms and the reality of those angels that operate in the higher skies, then I can't call them angels anymore. The man of knowledge then becomes their superior. Remember now, Allah ordered them to bow down to our father Adam. Okay? So, we find in one book that God says that he made a man a little below the angels. You know what book that is? Yeah. And in another book, we find that God says he made man a little above the angels. So, these angels that operate in the physical creation as forces behind or in physical creation, they are nothing but agents. They are nothing but hidden forms of the physical creation. They are powers and forces that were called in ancient times angels and gods. But when we discover them in reality, we don't call them angels and gods anymore. So this is when the man begins to evolve intellectually, and he knows why the thunder is rolling now. He knows why there's lightning and rain and so forth. So we don't fear it the way we used to. We still take precaution now. You know, I still know people who put the cell phone down when it's lightning. They ain't doing all that stuff when it's lightning. Okay? Some people still do that. And some people don't. They just go right on, you know. Okay? So Imam Muhammad goes on to say, it is our view that much of the language and many of the stories in the Quran are metaphorical and should be understood philosophically. For example, it is not that Allah sends an unusual creature called an angel to speak to someone, or that creature temporarily takes on a human body or form, then transforms back into a creature with wings and returns to some other plane of existence. You see? So, at this point, any questions about what Imam Muhammad said about angels? Okay? All right. He goes on. You know, there's a famous hadith. In fact, it's so famous, it's called the Jibril hadith. And I know you're familiar with it. But this is the second part of what was explained. The Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said, Al-Islam implies that you testify that there is no God but Allah. And this is where I didn't say the part where Jibril asked him the question. He asked Prophet Muhammad, what is Islam? And he was sitting right in front of him, and the way he acted, the companions were very concerned, I'll say. Okay, so the Prophet is answering his question. Al-Islam implies that you testify that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, and that you establish prayer, you pay zakat, you observe the fast of Ramadan, and perform pilgrimage to the house if you are solvent enough to bear the expense of the journey. And then the Jibril said, you have told the truth. And that's when the companions, they had to look twice. Say, who is this telling the Prophet he told the truth? Sure, the Prophet going to tell the truth. Okay? Umar ibn al-Khattab said, it amazed us that he would put the question and then he would himself verify the truth. The inquirer said, inform me about Iman, faith. Okay? The Prophet replied, you affirm your faith in Allah, in His angels, and in His books, in His apostles, and then you know the rest of that, in the day of judgment, and you affirm your faith in the divine decree about good and evil. And the inquirer said, you have told the truth. And then we go on where the inquirer again says, inform us about al-ihsan, performance of good deeds. And then the Prophet said that if you worship Allah as though you are seeing Him, for though you do not see Him, verily He sees you. And the inquirer again said, inform me about the hour. And then the Prophet said, of course, the one who is asked knows no more than the one who is asking. Okay? And then he said, the inquirer, he said, tell me some of its indications or signs. And the Holy Prophet said that the slave girl will give birth to her mistress and master, and that you will find barefooted, destitute goat herds vying with one another in the construction of magnificent buildings. Okay. The narrator, Umar ibn al-Khattab, said that he, the inquirer, went on his way, but I stayed with him, the Holy Prophet, for a long while. He then said to me, O Umar, do you know who the questioner was? I replied, Allah and His Messenger knows best. And then the Prophet said, he was Jibril, the angel. He came to you in order to instruct you in matters of religion. In his commentary, Imam Muhammad says, most Muslims read this report and think of a mysterious angel that transformed into a human being and came before the Prophet to teach him the religion, then left and transformed back into his angelic form and soared to his place of abode in another reality somewhere. Some students of Imam Muhammad read this report and see a bold, confident, and knowledgeable man who approached the Prophet in an unusual way and then left the scene. Okay? The Prophet had to contemplate on the matter for a while, and eventually understood that this person was functioning as an angel by causing the Prophet to teach the observing companions the religion as he answered the man's questions. All right? Everybody got that? Okay. The experience was so unique and atypical that it caused all who were present, including the Prophet, to reflect in amazement on what just happened. Okay? The Prophet's conclusion, in my words, was that the angel Jibril was operating in that man at that time. Okay? All right. More on the idea. Imam Muhammad has a lecture, and I don't have it in my possession. I intend to get it. But the title of that lecture is The Angel as a Quality in Human Nature. If you see it, get it. The angel as a quality in human nature. Okay? It's a complex topic. Okay? I hope that your consciousness will be raised at this time you're fasting. We just made 10 prayers. We made 10 prayers, right? Don't we get rewarded for 10? No. We made 10 prayers. Okay? So we can't do the same Ramadan every year. We've got to be raised. Our consciousness has to be raised. And that's what I think the Ramadan session should be all about. You're not the same person. So we've got to raise our consciousness. So when we study and read and we see things, and especially when we hear support from other scholars and so forth, okay, we take that information and we ponder it, we meditate on it, and that's how we grow. Remember now, the 19 powers, growth is one of them. Not just physical growth. There's a lot of ways to grow. Spiritual growth, material growth. You see? So we're interested in the spiritual growth. Okay? Let me look at the Quran just a second. This is Surah 24, verse 35. I'm reading the English. It says, Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. The parable of his light is as if there were a niche, and within it a lamp. The lamp enclosed in glass. The glass as it were a brilliant star, lit from a blessed tree, an olive, neither of the east nor of the west, whose oil is well nigh luminous, though fire scarce touched it, light upon light. Allah doth guide whom he will to his light. Allah doth set forth parables for men, and Allah doth know all things. Allah tells us in the verse that he uses metaphors to teach us. Please get that point. Get off the baby level, the literal so much. We're too literal. And you're not going to be literal if you stay around long enough. You can't stay literal. Okay? Allah tells us in this verse that he uses metaphors to teach us. In the first sentence, he tells us that he is the light of the skies and the earth. Now pay attention. Is he the actual physical light? Or is the sun the actual physical light of the skies and the earth? It is the sun, of course. Okay?
What is that verse?
24:35 in the Quran. Surah 24, verse 25. 35. Verse 35. Okay? Everybody get that? It's physical light right here. We say, as a school teacher, we had those code things we used to say. Say, little Johnny over there. You know little Johnny? Say, have you observed little Johnny? And then one teacher tell another, say, is the light on? You heard. I know you heard it. I know. Say, is the light on? Little Johnny might be struggling with some things, You see? So, then, how is Allah the light of the skies and the earth? Is Allah the physical light of the sky and earth? Is he the light that disseminates from the sun? No. That's just a physical light. Allah's light is Al-Quran. Al-Quran. Another famous hadith was when Aisha was asked about Prophet Muhammad, said he's a Quran walking. Can we be the Quran walking? Yes, you can be the Quran walking. That should be the goal of all of us, to be the Quran walking. The Word. That's where we're headed. So Allah is the truth of the skies and the earth. Al-Haq governs it all. That is how he is the light of it all. Okay? So he calls the physical light. Yes, he calls the physical light. But the best light is right here. That's the best light. If you don't get this light in your brain and get the Quran in your brain and in your heart and soul, we can't reach our potential. Because it's going to be, there's a hole in the bucket somewhere. As the old folks say, there's a hole in the bucket somewhere. Is that one all right, sister? Where's sister? Now, she's still You don't kill two birds with one stone. But there's a hole in the bucket somewhere. We don't reach our full potential. And the Quran has been given to us by Allah to assist us to reach the fullest potential. And it'll give you strength. It'll give you strength if you give your heart to it. Now I'm gonna go to a sensitive area. All right? This is sensitive. When you tell a parent that their child doesn't measure up, you got a fight on your hands. Okay? You tell a parent that his or her child doesn't measure up, you got a fight on your hands. They want all the justifications, how do you come to that conclusion and so forth. You see. So the Quran gives you strength. I'll go to Noah. Remember Noah? And Noah had the boat, didn't he? And Noah had a son, didn't he? He said, son, get in the boat, son. What did the son say? No, Father, I'm going over there on that high mountain over there. He was hard-headed, wasn't he? And then what did Allah tell Noah? That wasn't your son. That's just one instance. Let's go to Abraham. Abraham, Allah gonna make you the father of the nations. What did Abraham say? What about my posterity, my offspring? Allah said, my mercy does not extend to the wrongdoers. That's number two. That should be enough. Blood don't mean nothing in Al-Islam. Blood means nothing. Look at the behavior of Prophet Muhammad when he had certain situations. Blood means nothing. But that's hard for parents, especially of today, to deal with that. Your son out there acting the fool, that's just your blood, that's all. He done gone crazy, and you know he said, I hear parents say all the time, you didn't get that from me. I don't know where you got that from. You didn't get that from me. Okay? Brothers and sisters, we can go decade by decade and see the breakdown. We can go decade by decade. Okay? What do I mean by that? Who had the influence in the 1940s? Your parents had the influence in the 1940s. TV, you might have had a TV, you may not have had a TV in the 40s. 50s, good time. That baby boom was coming along, right? And the 40s too. Baby boomers came in the 40s and the 50s. Baby boomers, I'm in that group. Okay? Who had the influence? Your parents still had the influence. Parents had the influence. Your school teachers had the influence. Your principal, church, yeah. That was a strong influence. Boy, we come down through them 60s. Oh, goodness. They started leaving. That TV started blasting. Okay? The 60s. TV got control, exerting its influence. The parents started to deteriorate. The parents' influence started deteriorating. Okay? Don't even talk about the 70s. Don't even talk about the 70s. Now your friends got all the influence. You down there shooting at people. Hey boy, you ain't never, where you get that from? And you listen to your friend. Let's go down here and shoot. Let's go down here and shoot. All we got to do is show him the gun. Just show him the gun. He'll give you all the money at the store. Just show him the gun. Yeah. So you got your friends now is influencing Johnny. Okay? And now we see the results of that mess. We're seeing it. There's too much of it. Let me tell you this before we close. I had a little boy in my class. He was hooked on the video games. His parents bought him a video game, and the objective of the video game was to commit suicide. You hear me? The objective of the video game was to commit suicide. Now, what kind of parent will purchase a game like that for his child? The parent is the problem. He ain't had no money. Little boy ain't had no money. Not what that game cost. I mean, they start at what? You young parents, I don't even know because I wouldn't buy one. Even had to go to the neighbor's house. we never bought one. Even had to go to the neighbor's house to get a little piece of that. Okay? And when it get dark, you back in the house. I made sure he went over there when it was almost dark. So he didn't have too much, get too much of that, But you gotta be shifty. You gotta be smart as a parent, especially today. I think a lot that I grew up when I did, because all this stuff going on now. Most of us, we wouldn't have made it either. All this mess going on, we wouldn't have made it. We watched Lassie. You remember June Lockhart? Little sweet white lady. We watched Lassie and My Three Sons. You remember them shows? That's what we watched. Leave the Beaver. That's what we watched. Now it's dangerous to let a child sit there. Now it's dangerous. You have influences. Okay. All right. Yes, ma'am. This book was written by Mubashir Uqda. Al-Islam, the Articles of Faith, Aqidah, the beliefs we are tied to. That's Dr. Mubashir Uqda. I think it's still available. But he goes through the 5 pillars and the 7 articles of faith, how it's viewed in our community. Okay? And I just did the angels. That's how we view it now. Yes, ma'am.
I was going to add music has a really powerful influence.
Absolutely. But you can take it and use it for good. I know some Islamic people who write lyrics. They are super. Alhamdulillah. Real Mossadiki, his stuff is going to be classical. That stuff ain't going nowhere. People right here was raised on that stuff. That stuff ain't going nowhere. That's like Mary Had a Little Lamb. Real Mossadiki stuff ain't going nowhere. Allah really loves me. You know what I mean? Now listen. I got to tell you this before we finish. You know what I mean, ma'am, in Statesville. Statesville is growing. But guess what? The last 4 families who moved, who came to the Masjid in Statesville, were all immigrants. 3 were from Africa. I got Nigerians, I've got Malians from Mali, and Guinea-Conakry, West Africa. And I got Europeans. Y'all don't see Sister Linda no more. She comes to Statesville now. You know about Sister Linda, right? Sister Linda wrote the book Hillbilly Muslim. Okay? That's the makeup, pretty much the makeup of Statesville. My class on Sunday morning is all Nigerians. Okay? Last night at Iftar, I got a 14-year-old from Nigeria. That boy got it. I was reciting Surah 55. Ar-Rahman, Al-Quran, Kalakalinsa. He took it over and went a long ways, further than I had to do. I said, boy, you didn't tell me you had all that? I said, when you went to school? I said, who taught you? He said, I learned it at the mosque in Nigeria. I said, you tell your teacher he did a good job. So he did the Maghrib prayer and he did Isha last night in Statesville. And the brother said, well, Imam Tamir, you finally got some help. I said, yes, sir. I said, 14 years old, yes, we ready to go. Okay? So yes, that's our situation. And I really feel kind of bad because the African Americans aren't coming to the classes. They don't show up. And Allah bless that brother. Listen, that brother moved all the way from Nigeria to Statesville. He lived 1 block from the Masjid. His children walked to the school, walked back home. Okay? And I have to go with what Allah blessed us with. I prayed for some help. And you don't know how your help gonna be when the help comes. But that's what I'm happy to get some help. Inshallah. Okay, any questions about the angels? Any of the 19 that you want to look at? Yes, ma'am. The definition was an existence that is to serve man and help man get the victory. They pray for us. Y'all know that? The angels pray for us. They cheering us on. They're here to help us. Before you leave your house, you should pray to Allah. Oh Allah, Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Send down your angels to benefit, to help, to protect, to help me. That's an excellent dua. Yes, excellent dua. Yes, sir.
I want to mention something
Yes, sir.
that I thought was something with, like what the Imam said, the angel.
Yes.
But he said that the human being can be helping you, but he doesn't really know that he's functioning as an angel.
That's right. That's right.
I was coming from Harrisburg. I had gone home, my wife, we went to our Eid. I was down here for 6 months before we came. I went home, then on the way back, I got about 200 miles away from Harrisburg. My car stopped.
Oh.
I'm out here on the road. There are 3 crosses. They said it is Barabbas, Jesus, and Jesus to the 2 thieves.
Right.
I'm looking at that cross, you know what I said? Yeah, this could be the Ku Klux. I'm out on the highway by myself. So I'm trying to get some help. Cars kept going. The sun started to set.
Yes, sir.
I said, I'm gonna get in my car and just wait. When I got in my car, there was a car that pulled right in front of me. A young European soldier
Yeah.
came over and said, do you need some help? I said, yes, sir. He said, come on, I'm gonna take you down here. He said, I know you where you need to go.
Right.
So I got him,
Right.
take me there. And when I got there, he took my car and I had nothing. I had no money. The only thing I had was a check.
Oh man.
I left and a credit card. The man who took my car, he said, look, just in that whole stage check. That's what I did. He didn't know me from that.
Right.
I just said from Adam.
Right.
To me, the angels were helping.
Yeah.
You know,
I have to agree.
That's how I looked at
Yeah.
that.
That's right.
God
That's right.
sent an angel
Yes.
because I was out there all by myself.
Yeah. I agree. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Imam said, I remember speaking, said the man didn't know he was an angel, but the angel didn't know he was a man. So, I mean, yeah.
You heard that before?
Imam, I heard.
Oh, Imam say that?
The man
Yeah.
thought he was an angel, but the angel didn't know.
And you know he's doing it. Alhamdulillah. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Number 17,
17.
the ability to correlate sense images is to arrange the sense images in a particular order.
Yes. When you
Expound on that a little bit.
when you have a sense of something, when you have a sense and an image goes with it. Okay? Now the easiest thing I can think of is my father was a baker. He was very good. He did my wedding cake. And when you smelled his potato pies, okay, if I smelled a potato pie, I had an image. Okay? Now, to correlate means to place in order. Other animals can't do that. Only the human being can do that. You see? So if you have more than one, you're going to place it in the order that makes the most sense or that can serve you the most. See what I mean? Okay? So, man, look, you can walk through the community and have a smell and it'll remind you of your mother. She might come into your mind as an image. You see? And you might have another image. You see? But I'm also reminded of another one of these where it talks about arranging your nutrients. See, if something happens to you, a conscious human being will know what nutrients to pursue to get him or her well. See, I need vitamin C, I need vitamin D. Oh, I need to get in the sun for 20 minutes so I can get some vitamin D. Do you know a lot of Muslim women have a shortage of vitamin D because they're covered and they don't get enough sun? Okay, so that's the senses that's the power that we have. Okay, but now, I didn't say this, and this is very important. What I'm about to say. You can use these 19 powers to go to hell. If you abuse them, you can use them. You can end up in the hellfire. But we focus on using them to get to the paradise. Okay. So when you can see, that's power. When you can see. Now, if you want to look at naked women all day, you seeing, but that ain't doing you no good. Okay? You see what I mean? So these are powers. These are the human being. So you reflect on, they gave you 5 in school. Man. But you got 19. And that's from the Quran. You got 19. So cultivate the 19. Inner and outer. Cultivate the 19. Okay, that's it. Yes, ma'am.
What was the name of the other book? The Angels as a,
Oh, that was Imam Muhammad's lecture.
what was it, lecture?
Yeah. How did I say it? What was it? Angel as a quality in human nature. Yeah. That's available, but you have to ask for it. You know.
Allah did not create anything that the devil did not use to bring you down.
Right.
Everything,
Yeah.
you know, is how it's used.
That's right.
Allah created anything good, but the
Yeah.
devil can take that same thing.
And turn it, and that's what he did. That's his job. Sister, you had your hand up.
Can you talk about, or can you explain, or can you address the symbolism of the number 19? Because, I mean, we're not the 9th month of Ramadan, and it takes 9 months for the baby to be formed in the mother's womb.
That's a long road. That's a long road. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead, Imam Ronald.
I don't know how I knew this question was coming up. Just looked it up. Yeah. 19 is the combination of 10 and 9.
Right.
10 is conscious.
Okay.
9 is a social order. You may say, how do you know that? Abraham, he made the sacrifice on the 10th day of Hajj. 10th day.
Okay.
That's so, and 10 is conscious. We already know 10 is conscious. Man gets knocked out of the ring.
Yeah.
You don't get out.
10 count.
Wait a minute. Now, if he gets up before 10, then you say, you in Charlotte. You say, well, what? Say, son, where are you? He said, I'm in Los Angeles. Get out.
That's right. It's right. Sister, it's a lot on 19.
Yes.
Okay? But I'm gonna tell you up front. Don't get out there and get lost now. Just look at what WD said and keep. But it's a lot on 19.
9 is the social order.
Yeah.
Because we meet on Arafat on the 9th day.
9th day.
And on the 9th day, there's no ritual.
Right.
We just communicate and learn from
And meet
each other.
people, yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And so the prophet said, if you don't go to Arafat,
Right.
then your heart is not.
That's right. We don't have house.
Right. And so Imam goes on to say that no society, if it has its social conscience intact, is fall. He said that's why America is survived. You know, they call America big state and all that. But America got strong social conscience. Mm-hmm. And so he said,
Understanding that.
Yes, it is.
yeah.
It's so broad.
Yeah.
And Allah has put so much out there. And I used to share this with people that I would come in contact with often. Like, and I'd say to them, if you can't see the forest for the tree,
Yeah.
how do you know where you are? How do you know? You can't see anything. All you see is what's right in front of you.
That's right.
You have to expand your mind.
Yeah.
When you look at movies, and my mom used to talk about all the time. I go to movies, I enjoy them, they're entertaining, but I always get something from it.
Yeah.
And that's what when I go.
And you should look to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I have done more, and I literally take notes when I'm watching certain movies. I pick the movies I watch. I don't do no horror stuff because that's just crazy.
Right.
So that distracts your whole intellect. So when I look at these things, I'm like, okay, well, let me write this down. Let me write that down. You know, so
Yeah.
everything coincides with everything that Allah has given us.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of us really understanding that and being able to put ourselves
That's right.
in that mindset.
That's right.
And
Al-Quran will never be exhausted.
That's right.
Never. Come on, brother. I'm finished, brother, man. There's no other question.
But I have to comment on what you just said.
Oh, hold on. Yes.
About what was the last thing you said about?
The Quran will never be exhausted.
Yes. Imam says that's the reason why 23 years. You get commentary on that. Because that's 5.
Yeah.
Right. He said that God is very precise. He said the prophet could have been among us as a leader for 22, 21.
Right.
It's 23. What is it 23? It's talking about the conscious, the intellect.
Yeah.
And so he said it's saying that as long as the human being's intellect, he's God, the Quran's going to be there, just like you just said.
That's right.
It's
As
one
long-
of them.
that's right.
It's the last revelation. So as long as human being needs understanding from God, the Quran's going to be there.
Just be there. Alhamdulillah. All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Stand up and just stretch a little bit. I know you're, my knees get a little, well, I won't say that.
Okay, alhamdulillah, things are going very well. I was talking a few minutes ago about who was coming tomorrow. Imam Ash-Shaheed will be here too, tomorrow. So he's coming as well, you know, and, but this is going very well. We thank Allah for how smooth it is going. And the information that's being shared is not just being shared here. People are watching this. Are you all aware of that? They're watching. Now, this man needs no introduction.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, he's been around for quite a while. Used to go to study session with Imam W.D. Muhammad. He's a jewel here with us. And we thank Allah for his presence and the information that he brings. I mean, he sends, I don't know how many you get the transcripts. He sends already edited transcripts. I get them all the time. You know, and a lot of times when you get transcript, you got to read it real closely. But when he sends them to me, they're very clear. They're very clear. So we appreciate you, Brother Imam, and we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you will guide us the rest of the way for today.
How much time I got?
We're supposed to go at 5 o'clock.
Lord have mercy.
No, I said that earlier, because I didn't know who was.
So Joaquin, don't try to cut my time off.
We actually, we said that to our prayer, you remember?
Yeah, that's right. Tell me, man. They cut me up. Yeah, your son said that. Yeah, well, I'm sure Sister Joaquin will give me the cut sign. You know, with Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. I don't always do this, but I just have to give this anecdote because Imam Budakabi, he was talking about if you, because I was born in the country too, you know, and I know about piles of cow dung and everything. And so it was a problem. You get in, so what's that smell? Everybody got to look up and shoot. Go ahead, man.
You live in the country, and people were visiting you from up north. They can
Yes.
smell that stuff. Yeah, you can smell that stuff outside the country. I'm saying that because I grew up in the the states around here, to me, it's not good.
So anyway, I openly witness that nothing should be worshipped except Allah alone. He has no associate and no partners, and I openly witness that Prophet Muhammad, to whom the Quran was revealed, is Allah's universal messenger, the last prophet that's mentioned in Scripture. Before I make my comments, I do want to playing off Imam Mudakabir's comments, and Masjid and I both know this joke. This, humorous story. I'll try to keep it as clean as I can, So this Indian agent was visiting the reservation. And,
they don't like the Indian. I mean, that's somebody the government got over them. They don't like him coming there. So, but anyway, they have to give him respect. So they have this big gathering of the Native Americans, and so the Indian agent is making all these promises that he know he's gonna break. That's why the Indian used to say, they probably still say it, white man speaks with forked tongue. Right. So here's a white man with a forked tongue speaking to him. So he says, yes, and we're gonna do this for the Native Americans on this reservation. And they said, Bazanga, Bazanga. He said, and we're gonna make it where everybody has a chicken in his own pot, everybody. And then they said, Bazanga, Bazanga. And so he went on. Every time he would make some statement that they knew was forked, they would say, Bazanga, Bazanga, Bazanga. So now his talk is over, and he's walking with the chief across the reservation, showing him, the chief is showing him around. And they got to a spot, and he went to step. The chief said, watch out, don't step in that Bazanga. Watch out for the Bazanga. Anyway, you could see I didn't know which way I was going to go. So I brought all this. So don't worry, sister Wakila. I'm not. Yeah, it's just. I was even as late as this morning. Oh my God, what am I going to say? Well, I'm going to scratch all of that because it's okay. But I'll go with this. I think Imam said Jesus Christ was in the scripture says he said he would tell the disciples, don't prepare anything. He says when you go there, God will guide you. So that's what I did, even though I was trying to do something else. So I got this call. I was driving my son Jonathan home from school the other day, and it was a member of the Focolare. Her name is Jo Ellen. She was in Chicago, and I was in Milwaukee, and we were very close. We had spent a lot of time together, especially in our work with Imam Muhammad. Of course, they being in Chicago with Imam, they had a lot of encounters with Imam. As a matter of fact, before Imam Muhammad met the leader of the Focolare, he heard about them. I think he was in some country at a meeting, and he met one of their leaders, not Kira Lubick, but I think it was Natalia. And then when he came back, he contacted or maybe they contacted him, but anyway, he got with the people who were Focolare representatives in Chicago, and he went to their home, and they gave him a book, May They All Be One by Kira Lubick, and the man read it, and then he contacted him and said he wanted to come back, and he brought his daughter and everything. So long story short, the Focolare became very, very close to our community because of that encounter that Imam Muhammad had. Well, Jo Ellen was one of the leaders in Midwest in Chicago. That's how I got to meet her. And Jo Ellen is a translator. She is fluent in Italian, and Kira Lubick spoke Italian. And when we would go over to Rome, and I think I went maybe 3 times with Imam, maybe 4, but then I went an additional 4 times. So I've been over there in Italy, Rome, in the dialogue with Focolare, maybe 7 or 8 times, all across Italy. I still don't speak Italian. That's a shame, ain't it? I need to learn Italian. Well, I got Sheikh Google, so I can figure it out. Oh yeah. Anyway, Jo Ellen was transferred from Chicago to Canada, someplace in, I want to say, Vancouver. She was translated to Vancouver. So we're talking about it, and we're talking about how much we miss associating with each other. We're talking about how much we miss Imam Muhammad. She's saying that, and I'm agreeing. And we're also talking about how he and Kira Lubick were so close, like brother and sister, in the faith, you know. Now that's what she told me. She was translating Kira's lectures into English. And I told her, I said, you know, I'm kind of doing the same thing, because I'm trying to present Imam's language in books
so that they can be available for in the future. So we agreed that we're going to keep communicating. And some of you may know, you may not know, but God has blessed me to edit, quote, quote, 9 books. And my main project is to take the private talks that we had with Imam Muhammad over several years in his home, and he asked us to do that, put it in book form. So I'm working on that now. So I thought about that, and I said, you know, what I should do in my time is share my experience with Imam Muhammad. Because some of us never met the Imam. We love him, but we never met him. I remember once we were in Miami, Florida, and Imam had spoke at this college, done a lecture in one of the lecture halls, and we're coming out, and the local Muslims were lined up. A lot of them were elderly. And Imam was somewhere behind, and we were walking out front, and he was talking with people and everything. So they were very excited. They said, well, brother, will we get a chance to meet the Imam? I said, well, yeah, he's right there. They said, well, but we followed him all these years. We never met him. We want to shake his hand. And that always was on my mind. There are a lot of people never got close enough to him to shake his hand. And here I was, sitting in his home, or on many occasions, or having dinner or lunch with him, or traveling somewhere with him. And I took it for granted. I know I did, because now I miss it. It's gone. And I just now realize how precious it was. But one of the things that he was, well, let me lead up to that. I converted to Islam in 1974, and because I read Message to the Black Man, the book. It was a compilation of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's sayings, sayings, lectures, and I read that book, and I felt that I call myself, I was very black conscious. I was in the Black Power movement and all that. Stokely Carmichael, Rap Brown, die nigga die, you know, all that. And so I was reading all the books, you know, Soul on Ice, Elridge Cleaver, Black Boy by Richard Wright, Native Son, all these books that were Man-Child in the Promised Land, all these books that were out there and people were reading, and it was providing Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison, which they say is the definitive African-American novel, The Invisible Man. He wasn't talking about somebody physically invisible. He was talking about being a people and your contribution are not seen, you know. And it really is an excellent book. I mean, it's good reading for anybody, The Invisible Man. But anyway, so when I read Message to the Black Man, I said, man, this man here is saying something that none of the others are saying. I'm going to see if I can join that. So I ended up at the temple, and I joined. And of course, in 2 years, Elijah Muhammad passed away, and now his son became the leader. And to give you all some picture of what it wasn't all, oh, Imam is our leader. There was a lot of confusion. People didn't know if they could follow W.D. Muhammad. I was one of them. But I didn't deny him. I just was so far away, I couldn't get any vital information. I was over in Tallahassee, Perry area in the country. And we didn't get that much. So God blessed me too. My wife her sister lived in New York. So that summer of 1975, we went to visit her sister in New York. And I ended up staying there. I got a job at a university on Long Island. And then Imam Muhammad came to, what's that big place they meet in? Madison Square Garden. And so I went there to see him. And when he spoke, the one thing I remember he said was, if you're going to stay in this community, you have to get used to change. Because we're going to do a lot of changing.
Is that the time he told Fargo and brought him out to New York? Is that the time he brought him to Chicago?
Yeah, yes, sir.
I was there.
Yes, sir. He had on his FY uniform without the hat. You know, he had a picture of his picture. I don't know if he did that, but that's what they had. Picture of Mr. Farad, Elijah Muhammad, and him. And he was on the stage in Madison Square Garden. There were so many people there. Madison Garden was filled up, and they had to go, and Forum was filled up too. That's how many people. I don't know how many Madison Square Garden holds. Maybe 10,000 or more. Phelps Forum, half that. So at least 15 to 20,000 people there. Right. And so when I heard him say that, I said, man, that's the man. I'm going to stay with him. And but I didn't meet him. So this was in 1975. I didn't meet him until maybe it was 79 when he came to Tallahassee, Florida, where I was assisting the imam there. And I got to shake his hand. I was nervous. In fact, the imam, it's kind of a funny story. I don't usually tell this story because anyway, Imam said, well, so Imam Shaheed, we want you to drive one of the cars, right? So we're getting ready to take off in the entourage, and I'm backing up, and I'm wondering why my car won't go forward. That's how nervous I was. I had the car in reverse, pushing up against a tree, you know. So, no wonder it won't go forward. That's how nervous I was. So I'm sure those people that we saw in Miami was like that too. Anyway, years from that, I would say 4 or 5 years from that, I was working at Florida A&M, and a group of students, Imam was talking about genetic memory. He was talking about Dr. Lincoln and how Dr. Lincoln had presented this theory of when something very important happens to a people, they don't necessarily lose it. It's in their genes. He said, that's my explanation why so many African Americans are converted to Islam. You know, Dr. Lincoln was the one who wrote the book, Black Muslims in America. Yeah, in the dialogue, he told Imam Muhammad, he said, I named it Black Muslims in America not to put down the Muslims. He said, but I was trying to identify the most important aspect of Elijah Muhammad's program. He was interested in the upliftment of black people. He said, that's why, Dr. Cyril Lincoln at Duke. He was at Duke. He passed away a few years before the Imam, but he was at Duke University. Now, Dr. Lincoln, you be very, if you are interested, you should study his writings, because as Muslims, that man was a Christian, but he very much appreciated Islam. I don't know, he may have been a Muslim in his heart, I don't know. I was blessed a couple of years ago with Imam Wahid to have lunch with Dr. Lincoln's wife. She's still living, Sister Lucille Lincoln. And she told us that during those days when he was working with Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm, he knew Malcolm very well, she said that she had people ask her if she and her husband were Muslims. She said because whenever Dr. Lincoln was away, they would send Muslim brothers over to guard her and the children. The Muslims did. That's how much they appreciated his close association with Elijah Muhammad. So Dr. Cyril Lincoln. So if you have a chance to read some of his books, he even has essays where he spoke on Elijah Muhammad and Imam Muhammad. Anyway, so I met the Imam there at Florida A&M in a lecture, in a dialogue with Dr. Cyril Lincoln. And I remember him saying, after he was being introduced, he said, I had just become the Imam in Tallahassee, Florida. He said, now I'm just getting to know this young man, your Imam. I put emphasis on that, Sister Wakila. Young man. Yeah. He said, I'm just getting to know him. He said, and I hope he gets a lot of work to do. Well, Imam must have, he saw something, because I got too much work. I wanted to work. They say be careful what you ask for. Might get it. Anyway, fast forward a few years, I met with him to invite him, encourage him to give more college lectures. I was working at Florida A&M at the time, and I realized that there was a movement, on the white college and black college campuses, and they were Afrocentricity was big then. And I knew Afrocentricity denied Islam's contribution to African history. I knew that. And I said, Brother Imam, he said, yeah, I'm aware of that. I said, well, I just wanted to let you know I work on a college campus, and it would be very much needed if you could make more lectures to try to address that. He said, I want to do that, Imam. He said, will you coordinate for me? Will you coordinate that? And so that's how he ended up coordinating his college lectures. That gave me a chance to interact with him quite a bit. And then the substantive interaction occurred when I moved to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we had a Clara Muhammad school there, and we decided to teach our children, try to teach them television production, all aspects. So we got with the local cable station, and they designate a person that would teach our children. So we take them over there. Sometime he'd come to our school. And then the end result, we wanted to produce W.D. Muhammad and Guest, the television. And we did a couple of them with the students. They would set up the set design, and they handled all the things in the control room, and they were behind the camera, all of that. I guess Imam, in seeing that and saw how serious we were about television production, he asked me and the brother Ghani, Imam Ghani, if we would produce his W.D. Muhammad and Guest syndicated television program. So there again, we didn't know what we were doing. We accepted it, and in that work with him, we would go to Chicago to interview him. We would rent a hotel suite, and then we would maybe produce 3 or 4 programs that day. That's how we did it. And little did we know, but the man he was examining us. That's what I say. So one day we're on the way over there to do some more work, and he had his wife call, his sister Khadijah to call Imam Ghani and ask if we would come to dinner. We stayed at dinner. That he was going to cook for us. Now, I don't think you turned it down. I didn't turn it down. I'd never seen Ghani dance. He was dancing when he got there. I said, man, what's wrong with you? Man invited us to dinner, you know. So I'm remembering how he said when he first met Mr. Farad. Of course, Mr. Farad under the name Muhammad Abdullah. This is kind of funny. He said he was a minister in Philadelphia. So he comes home, like ministers come home and make reports. So he comes back home to make his report to his father, and he walks in the house, and they're at the dinner table, and this man, this looked like a Pakistani man, was having dinner with his father and mother. And he had come because he brought some, Elijah Muhammad had emphysema. And he brought some dried red salmon, he said, that helped with it. So they had dinner and everything. So the man, Muhammad Abdullah, said, you're in Philadelphia, huh? He said, I often go there. He said, if I come there, I want to come there. Can I prepare a meal, Pakistani meal for you? Imam said, of course. But he thought it was kind of a strange guy. And he did. He showed up in Philadelphia, took him out and bought food and cooked a Pakistani meal for him. But when they were in Chicago, after Muhammad Abdullah left, he said the first thing Elijah Muhammad said was, now son, that man that just left, that is not our Savior, Mr. Farad, Master Farad. Ain't that right, Clara? Imam said, oh, now I'm suspicious. Yeah, he said, I hadn't said anything. He said, son, now that man that just left, that's not our Savior, Master Farad. Ain't that right, Clara? So Imam said, now I'm suspicious. Well, the end result was Imam figured out that was Mr. Farad. Muhammad Abdullah was Mr. Farad. Now,
Looked like you looked on that picture.
yeah, that came later because, you know, the picture he had was the side picture. What you call profile picture. Never saw it straight on. But he said years later when he moved to Oakland, Muhammad Abdullah was out there, and he said he went to his house. They were talking. So Muhammad Abdullah left the room. And Imam looked on the wall, and there was a picture of some young men praying And the young man that was leading it was Muhammad Abdullah, but now you saw his full face. So Imam said, nah, I know this is Mr. Farad. So he said he asked him in the conversation. He said he didn't answer straight. He said he always talked like that. He said, he asked him, he said, you know it's written in Daniel that this is such and such and such. He never answered it. He said, but he did answer it, but he didn't answer directly. And you know, he never taught he was Master Farad until after Muhammad Abdullah passed away. He didn't do that. And you know that he invited him. He was the Imam over the Oakland Mosque at one time. In Jakarta, yes.
In Oakland, he was too.
Now, these are still, yeah.
He was there before fame.
Yes, he was. So now, these are little anecdotes. So Imam said one time when he first became the leader, he was struggling with trying to undo a lot of the symbolism that Mr. Farad had left. And he said something like, hey, if I got so much it's on me from what Mr. Farad did, he said, I'll whip his butt if I could get him. He said, Muhammad Abdullah, he was sitting on the stage. Imam said, I called it out, he saw Muhammad Abdullah on stage. Lord of mercy. One day, I pray I can do it. I would like to compile something on Imam talking about Mr. Farad. I think that would be good to have for history. Okay. So anyway, so we had dinner with Imam, and then we ended up coming every Thursday. Every Thursday we would come when Imam was in town. Some Thursdays he wasn't in town, but after a while we didn't have to be called and see if the meeting was still on. He said, "Look, if it's Thursday, your time is 2:30. Come." And he told us one time that it appeared to him that most of the important things in life had always occurred on Thursday. Now, you know the word Thursday is when you, ma'am, somebody said Thursday, thirst, T-H-I-R-S-T, Thursday. Yeah, it's Thursday, and you're thirsty meaning that you're wanting spiritual understanding. That's what it means. You're thirsty. You know, Jesus Christ told them in the Bible, he left them eating and drinking, or what they call the Last Supper. And he said, drink this in remembrance of me, drink this wine in remembrance of me, eat this bread in remembrance of my flesh. The flesh is teaching, is rational teaching. And the wine is his spiritual teachings. And you know, wine isn't like water. Both are liquids, but wine, if you drink it, it livens you up. You know, whereas water is basically good for you, but it doesn't do much for you. So that's the understanding that the spiritual teachings of Jesus Christ came to liven the people up, because their teaching had become dull. It wasn't moving people. People leaving the religion. And they say that's happening in the church a lot. Said even in Italy, where the Catholic Church reigns supreme, attendance there is very low. People left the church because they want some wine. They want some, Quran says wine that doesn't make you drunk. That's wine too. Yeah, it's a wine that doesn't make you drunk. It gives you understanding and you're not drunk. But I want to maybe close my comments with just a few words. And that is, I want to have you all to truly, really get a feel for who Imam Muhammad was. I mean, if you never met him, perhaps your picture of him may not be adequate. Imam Muhammad, from my observation and experience with him, was the humblest of human beings. He didn't just say it in his lectures. I was blessed by God to see him in his home. And he had a simple home in a African American neighborhood, and his home was very small, and they decided to renovate his home. But he said he didn't want to move out of his neighborhood because he liked his neighbors. And it's beautiful how they constructed his home. And I don't know if he suggested it to them or not. But when you saw the home, you still saw one of those classic Southern homes, right? But what they did was they renovated inside. They expanded the back of it. Yeah, you give them lots of room. So if you were just passing by, it looks like every other home. And I was there many times when the neighborhood children would come and knock on his door. He didn't tell them to go away. He told us, he said, he said, now look, I'm a world leader. He said, now, do you want me to go to the door to answer the door, somebody knocking on my door? Because so they had put in one of those things where you can ring the doorbell and you can talk. And most of the time, Khadijah, it wouldn't be Imam, Khadijah, his wife, would answer. And she would say, okay, yeah, Imam says, come on in, the door's open when we go there. But he said, and he told us that most of the time when I'm here, he said, I have air conditioning. And I don't think he had air conditioning before they renovated. That shows you how humble he was. He said, I have air conditioning now. He said, so most of the time I don't leave the door open. He said, I have done it where, got the screen door open so you can get the air circulating. I remember one time we were there and it was like that, but most of the time it was not. But he would, I remember one day we drove up to meet him and we parked across the street to walk this home. And he was just pulling in with he had a little Volkswagen. Yeah, a little yellow Beetle.
Yellow and green.
Yeah. No, it was green, wasn't it? It was green. Yeah, it was green. Anyway, he pulled in with his little Beetle, and we saw the kids in the neighborhood swarming him. So we cool because we don't live in that neighborhood. They know him, man. So when we get up there, we find out that they're taking things in his house. And he told us later, he said, now you think that they're just doing that. He said, but they do help me. He said, because I have a bad back. And the doctor won't let me. He said, I can't carry heavy weight. So when I go to the store, he said, they're very useful. And he, of course, he rewards them. And he but I'm just trying to give you a picture of how down to earth he was. He is a man that perhaps, I believe, is the most insightful man that ever walked the earth since Muhammad the Prophet. That's what I believe. I think I could prove it too. Because, yes,
I
sir.
just wanted to tell you, I remember when we went to the Savior Day, Parkland, Imam.
Yes, sir.
On the way back, that was the first time I ever been by his home.
Yes,
I
sir.
expected a bigger house. We pulled up to the thing. God, is this where I
Yeah. I felt the same way. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
have much of a house. It made me want to go home and get rid of that.
No, he was, that was him. I know for a fact, we would give him contributions. He wouldn't even use it. He would give it to people.
It happened right here in Charlotte. What would be? It's Coalition of Good Government. He handed them a check. What did he say? I made some money last week. Use this as seed money.
Look, we had an affair in Milwaukee, and Milwaukee's number 3, So we got together and we gave him $3,000. He took it. And about 4 days later, a check came in the mail, $3,000 for the school. Yeah. I mean, once we were in airport in New Jersey. No, Providence, Rhode Island. And for some reason, they had paid Imam in cash, So Imam was looking at the cash, So he said, Imam Shaheed, came over. Imam gave me $1,000. I said, Brother Imam, I can't take this. I said, I have a job. I work at a university. I'm fine, He said, yeah, but I want to do it. That's what am I going to say? That's the way it was. And I remember many times when he would lecture and I helped arrange it and they gave him an honorarium. I got a check in the mail a few days later. I mean, So that's the way he was. And I know that he did that with a number of imams. I was just reading somewhere where he was talking and he said that when he became the leader, a few months after he became the leader, the money began to drop off contribution. He said, but those few months before, there was so much money, he said, and I didn't know what to do with it. He said, so I gave some of it to Oakland to buy the mosque, and he gave some to that country, island, Bermuda. He gave money for the Bermuda community to buy their facilities. Right. Because he said, but he said after that the money, he said, I didn't even have enough money to pay the staff. After that, money just, seemed like it came to leave, just money dropped off. And he said that's why he had to let a lot of people go. He couldn't keep the payroll up because people started making contributions. So don't you know that people, they talked all that junk, but they weren't supporting Imam Muhammad. The man was by himself. In a lot of ways, he was by himself. And I think we all could say that too, that we at some point in life, we've been by ourselves and have to figure out that only God is with us. But God is sufficient. God suffices. Yes, sir.
I was listening to a video.
Anybody, if you have questions, I'm just two. Yes, sir.
It was Imam Siraj was talking about his relationship with the man and how the reconciliation took place. And what I found to be very
Reconciliation, you use that term?
Yeah.
He said that?
well, yeah,
I mean, did he use that term?
From his perspective.
Okay.
But what I found to be interesting is that he basically goes through the cycle where he broke away from the community, but he describes saying things that weren't pleasant. But then at the Manna conference, to hear the humility that the man had towards him, even though
Yeah.
he didn't, because he could have used his platform and made
Sure he could have.
So I find it fascinating that the Imam had the same characteristics as our prophet when it comes to people who were adversaries. Like he never really used his platform to even hurt the people that were hurting him.
Right.
So I wonder if that was an evolution for him, or if that was just his nature from just as a young person all the way through.
Yeah.
That's just something you don't find there. I mean, most of us, you have one of your top people go out and say something.
Yeah.
Now we blast them right away.
Yes. Well, the prophet was like that. He was the first to extend his hand in peace. Yeah. Well, many don't know. Now, me personally, I don't deal with Siraj al-Hajj. I follow the prophet. That man that killed Hamza, the man in the history, Hind hired this man, told him she would free him if he would just concentrate on Hamza and kill him, because she had watched how good he was with his spear. And of course he did and got his freedom. But in the ensuing years, when Mecca had been conquered and everything was going the way it was, it said that that man that killed his uncle Hamza, he was very close to Hamza. The prophet, he never said anything bad about him. And he prayed in the same area with him. They say, but when the prayer was over, or the event was over, he went that way, the prophet went that way. That's how I am with Siraj al-Hajj. Because I know what he did to gain notoriety in the Islamic world. Now I'm going to tell you about a conversation I personally had with Imam Muhammad. He called for something, I can't remember. So we were talking, and a brother, a prominent imam, had called me and said that Siraj had, I don't know exact words, but he had repented of his adversary relation with the imam. So I said, brother imam, before you go, can I ask you a question? I said, this brother told me that Siraj al-Hajj had come and apologized to you, etc. And he said, that's not true. He said, it's not true. He said, I have been to several meetings where he's been there, and he's been very cordial and everything. He said, but no, he's never apologized to me. He said, and I don't want him to apologize. He said, what he needs to do is he needs to go back and all those people that he told, that he dirtied my name with in order to get notoriety, he needs to go back and clear that up with them. He said, I don't need his apology. That's what he told me personally. And to this day, as far as I know, that never happened
I have a similar conversation
with Imam Muhammad.
I asked him directly.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me. I was personally a part of that situation in Brooklyn when he came in. Yes, the man was careful. It's just like that. He didn't address. He said that's what he wanted to do.
Yes, I remember that. I had that lecture. You were in Brooklyn?
I was in Brooklyn then, and so I was really upset with the leadership there because
Yeah.
they were splitting the community. And, you know, I know that there were other influences in there because I could see them. But, you know, people always said that I was a troublemaker. So, you know, they tried to squash my voice, but I always spoke out regardless. But, yeah, he never apologized.
Sir.
I want to mention this. Some years ago, we were looking for a fundraiser. And brother, I think it's brother Sean,
Mm-hmm.
Ferry, what's the other brother now? Yeah, awesome. They wanted to bring Imam Ronald here. At that particular time, I told them that we got too much political dust around us. We got something else. A few years ago, I wanted to bring Wazir here.
Yes.
And I called Imam Qasim to try to make a connection.
Yes, sir.
Imam Qasim told me, he said, I'm meeting the brother right now, picking him up. You can come and do your fundraising. But Wazir is not as well known.
Right, I see.
So I said, well, who is he? He says, Imam Ronald, so I don't know. So I questioned him. He said, he was Canada. That's where he post up. He said, man, he said, the man doesn't hold grudges.
No, he doesn't.
And he said,
He didn't.
He said, the man has said some things publicly. And I've seen some things on television that he said.
Yes.
That he left too soon and all that kind of stuff. So, but based on the information he gave, I invited him here. Qasim came with him.
Yes, sir.
Real good fundraiser. And I know when I gave him some money, he could have got this from me now. I gave him some money, and that morning when I picked him up to take him back to the airport, he gave me a check for the same amount of money.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
And then recently he was in Greensboro. So I don't know all of the political dynamics that were there. I heard things, but I do know I have the tape and everything, the things that he said. We would have taken him out of here. If some of us were. So I was really surprised. That when Imam Qasim told me, so on based upon that information, as I trusted him, we brought him in, he did a good job.
Now, to me, there's some things that you can do that you got to take that to Allah. Imam Muhammad said in one of his lectures that what the white man did to African Americans, he said African Americans can't forgive the white man. He said, and so African Americans shouldn't get into that. He says, God has to forgive them for that. Okay? They took a whole people and tried to make them, and made them something else. And we can't go back to Africa, Afrocentricity. Where are we going to go? So Imam said, some things are just too big for us in terms of trying to forgive somebody. He said Allah has to do it. So if Allah has forgiven him, then that's between him and Allah. But me, I'm going to do just like the Prophet. Yes, sir.
So I just want to add, because I think the story man is that he had the biggest voice. So Allah blessed us with someone to give us 35-year example of how he treated people,
Yes.
his adversaries, and the public space.
That's correct.
Because I mean, I have the strength to do it that way. He did that with the Nation of Islam and the Men's Park.
Yes.
He never took that position, and that is the example.
Yeah, absolutely.
At home, we could have felt differently.
Absolutely.
But in public, he showed.
Absolutely. That's absolutely true. And I wouldn't go out in the public. Well, I guess it's on the thing. But anyway, I will have to take a disclaimer, because, anyway, go ahead, sister.
What is the meaning of forgiveness?
What is the meaning of forgiveness?
What do you say? How do you define forgiveness?
How do I define it? Not sure I have a definition for it. But here's my position. We should seek Allah for forgiveness. Don't come to me. Don't ask me for forgiveness. I'm not God. I'm not your wakil. I can't forgive somebody. God does that. So I think for me, forgiveness, that's Allah. That's between Allah and the human being. I don't even know if we have the capacity. We don't really, because forgiveness denotes for me just totally there ain't nothing there anymore. And I don't know anybody. If you do something terrible to me, I'll deal with you, but it ain't totally gone. Because, and the old folks used to say this. Oh, Cooley said, but I keep one eye open all the time. So that's human beings. I think forgiveness in the pure sense is Allah forgives you if your sins is bigger than the earth. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think that when we talk about forgiveness, I'm sure you've heard it. How do we expect Allah to forgive us when we can't forgive each other for things? And the biggest example to me is how Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, was able to go back to Mecca and he did not retaliate.
Yes.
That's the definition of forgiveness.
Yes. But the story I share with you is authentic hadith, and he didn't have anything to do with that man who killed Hamza. Now there would be somebody who would say, I think, wait a minute.
The way I look,
Go ahead, sister.
the way I understand and try to let that forgiveness operate in my life is that I don't let something that somebody else has done impede or stop me
Yes.
from functioning. You know how people
Yes.
can hold things that somebody has done,
Yes.
and they can't function, they can't evolve because they always have this, this negative stuff going on.
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
You can let that go. But
Sure you
don't
can.
have to accept that what that person did to you was right. I don't have to accept that was right, but I don't have to let that keep
Exactly.
me in prison.
I think
They
that's
say that when you forgive a person, you're really letting your own self out of prison.
yes.
That when you set yourself free when
Yes.
you forgive a person.
Yes.
You don't have to forget it.
Yes.
You don't have to have anything.
But here's what I found in counseling. I found in counseling that the average person could not go forward in their life after some traumatic thing. Not because they couldn't forgive the other person, quote, quote. They couldn't forgive themselves. Yeah. So this forgiveness thing is that's a whole, we should do
You got a comment online.
you got a comment on that?
Imam Evan, he's listening,
Yes?
and he kind of made the same point that Washi, the man who killed Hamza, he later became Muslim. So his heart changed. And the Prophet accepted his Shahada, but told him to stay out of his
His way.
insights.
Stay out of his sight. Out
His
there.
insight. So I think it's interesting that when people come and they change, then it allows reconciliation.
Yeah. And, now, it's hard to get people to admit this, but
This is a story in the series.
we have in our life done people wrong some kind of way. And we'll never see that person. We never see that person. So how would I forgive them? How would I forgive them along the same line? How would they forgive me? Or if somebody did something to me. But to me, the forgiveness is between you and God. Because I could say I forgive you, but you don't know what's in my heart. I could be planning to do you in. And I'm just treating you the best I can treat you. So to me, forgiveness is in the heart. And nobody knows your heart except you and Allah. And I think we don't even know our own heart fully. Now there's a Imam's commentary on why the Quran was revealed upon Prophet Muhammad's heart. Ma'am? So,
Cut into her talk. Oh, okay.
Redundancy is good.
yeah. Well, okay. Anyway, the Quran says, and we understand that the Quran was revealed upon Prophet Muhammad's heart. And the Imam said, why is that? He said, the word qadr, Q-A-D-R, it means potential. Qadr means, so you could say night of power, the night of the potential. And Imam said that everybody in their mind has the same, they're born with it, the same potential. But the point is, how do you get that potential to be realized in the world? Your heart's got to be right first. If it doesn't go to the heart, then you got Shaitan. You got or Iblis. Because Iblis, when he was asked to submit, he said, I ain't bowing. I'm better than he is. Well, that's bigotry. So Imam said that the prerequisite for God giving you what potentially your intellect can realize with the Quran's guidance is you got to have a pure heart, a clean heart, sincere heart, loving heart, all these things. So you're saying that the prophet is what do you say, modeling for us what we need to get the full benefit of Quran. Now there's a story in Quran of Moses. I got you, sister. And they came to this wall, he and this man, wise man they say, Kidder they call him, although the Quran doesn't say Kidder, but that's the tradition. Kidder, what does it mean, the green person? Yeah. So Kidder, or the wise man, after they had been rejected by the city, he built up the wall that was falling down. And Moses just couldn't understand that. And he told him, now, we're going to part, but I'm going to explain to you what went down. And then getting to the explanation of the wall was that there was a treasure under the wall. And the treasure was for two orphans in that city. Now, people, the city is the world. The city is the world. You know, Medina, Munara, Medina is any city. Medina is a city. That's what it means. Egypt, all these terms that's designating different place, they could be talking about the whole world. But anyway, and so the Quran says the treasure is there until the orphans, there's a treasure for them as their inheritance, and they cannot get it until they reach the age of full strength. And then Imam Muhammad said, actually this was the last conversation he had with us, August 21st, 2008. He said, now look at my name. He said, because it's no accident. He said, my name, Wallace, is spelled W-A-L-L-A-C-E. Wall Ace. And that's been on my mind and spirit ever since he said that. And the fact that he said, till the orphans reach the age of full strength. But he did explain to us, he said, you know who the two orphans are? They are Muhammad the Prophet and us as a people. That's heavy, isn't it? I mean, if the Quran is our inheritance, then when do we reach the age of full strength that we can get the treasure out? I believe that we should have a serious, studious, assiduous study of the life and the wisdom of W.D. Muhammad. I believe there's a treasure in there that you cannot get it, because most treasure you got to dig. It ain't sitting on top of the ground. If the treasure had been on top of the ground, anybody could have gotten it. See, he built the wall up. So I'm looking for that. I'm wanting that. I'm wanting people who value the Quran. I'm wanting the Ramadan sessions to be about assiduously studying Quran and trying to see where Imam was pointing us, because the treasure is the Quran, our inheritance is the Quran, and our destiny is the Quran. Because it says in that night, God sent the Spirit and the angels on every errand in that night of power. So Imam Mutakabir was talking about the angels. The angels, Quran says, are messengers of God. They are messengers of God. They're bringing us a message. And they don't deviate from bringing the message. And they don't necessarily like human beings, but they love Allah. And as long as you with Allah, they're with you. But you leave Allah, they will leave you. They're unflinching, the Quran said. They don't flinch in their duty. But the Quran says we had two angels. Everybody's born with two angels. Sister, you had a question.
Yes.
Alaikum assalam.
So I wanted to ask, it's a multifaceted question. I know we got time.
No. She knows time is no problem with me. Go ahead. Imam Khalil is keeping the time clock, so go ahead. Go ahead, sister.
First question, inshallah, do you intend to write a book or write a number of books in relationship to what you're sharing with us and your relationship with the Imam?
Yeah, I think I mentioned that book. I wanted to do. He wanted us to do a book based on his dictating to us in those private sessions. Now I have to tell you this very quickly. Go ahead.
More like your personal.
I was going to answer, but anyway, he was painstakingly sure that we brought recorders for all that time. So three and a half years of every Thursday, when you walk in, you turn your recorder on, and he knew the recorder was on. So I have to do that first. I have to, because I told him I would do it, because he said that there are people who. He said, everybody won't appreciate this, but there are people who would appreciate it. And he said, I want you to make it hardback. And he said, and I think that it would find its place on the shelves of libraries in the world. So that's on me. But I hear what you're saying. If I could figure out how to do it, I will do it. I want to do it. But I don't know how much people want to hear what I got to say about, maybe a few people might, but I got to make some money. I got to pay for it. People have to buy it, so I have to figure out how to do it. But I hear what you're saying. You're not the first person who said that to me. But I think we all could draw from other people's stories, because when you got a historical figure that extends beyond the time that they're in, usually it's people giving input about that person, insights that's going to help people in the future. Now, we talk about our young people. Most of our young people, in my opinion, they need to get to know Imam Muhammad. They should do their thing. I'm saying this because he said that. He told them at a Ramadan session, you young, he said, now all you old ones get up out of here. I want to talk to the young people. And he told them, he said, you all should start your own organization and you should move forward. He said, don't look to these other people to you do it on your own. He said, and then later on down the line, I think you're going to want to get to know your leader. See, so I think that's the ingredient that I could help with, because let's face it, I'm probably going to live another 50 years, but I don't know about after that. Yes, ma'am.
You tied into it. So, inshallah, we'll have a Imam Muhammad graduate level co-report 2 starting in August. And our homework assignment, our first homework assignment was to listen to, on YouTube.
Yes.
I'll ask them 1 through 4 on YouTube and take notes on it.
Yes.
And one of the things that the Imam said that struck me was evolving in how we communicate. So for me, I like to read, and I used to love, really reading the book when I was a teenager.
Right.
But that's not me now. I want to listen to it. So
Yeah, I see.
book, I'm like, if this was situated in an audio format or ebook, I got you. If you want me to read something, it's kind of thick. I'm like, ugh. And this one book, someone in our community, I believe, it's an excellent book, but it's heavy like steak. So I've been reading it for a minute.
Yeah.
Go to a conference and I asked someone, is this available in Audible form? And he looked at me and he's like, sis, what do you think this is, the 21st century? I'm like, yes, yes. Like, it's available
Hello?
in form already. Because again, you miss out on these gems when it's not available in other forms to digest.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not the first person that said that either. They told me. I said, well, okay. I said, but they would say, why don't you do it? I said, well, okay, but let me get it in this form first. Because they were saying have somebody, and we tried it, but the person we got to do it, he didn't do it. But have them read it and then put it on audio books. Now, you know, audio books was big a while back and they kind of fell off.
Right.
Now all of a sudden they're back.
There's a way you can do it. You have an iPhone. So what I do, if you download the man's transcript, you can download an app that will play that transcript to you. And you just listen to, you can select the voice person, you can select the speed that they read it, and you just press play, and now the Ramadan session is being played to you.
See, I didn't know that. See, the part I didn't know, I knew the first part, but I didn't know, see, because that thing said, and he went this way. I said, man, I couldn't stand. But you saying you could change the voice and the speed and all that. I didn't know that.
It depends on what you have, but
It's on the iPhone for sure.
yeah, it's called Natural. One is Natural Reader, but you look up voice reading apps, and then you have to get the Ramadan session in the PDF form.
Yeah. But you know, now for Muslims, I don't know if it's a word of caution, but it's just something to remember. The first words revealed to Muhammad the Prophet was read. So there's something about actually reading it with your eyes, reading it. There's something about that. And I haven't really explored it. I'm just saying. RIF reading is fundamental. There's something about reading that, like we read. Now you can, in the Ramadan, you know this, you can listen to recitation of the Quran if you're not able to read. That's why in some communities they'll have a hafiz and he'll do the whole juzah. And so if you come to all of them, you have, heard the whole Quran during the month.
You know, the late husband of Imam, of Sister Naira, Imam Pendle, he started doing some research on that with eye coordination and talking about, it goes back with, even with the mothers nursing the baby,
Right.
in that direct line, and also with reading.
Right.
How something is, I don't know
Yeah.
what all those words, it's triggered in your brain when it, when it happens, and over time that we've lost that.
Yeah.
Because, they're saying how we'll become wiser but weaker. And we've lost a lot of that because we're doing things so rapidly and so fast that even our children's brains are not even being wired correctly. I'll see if I can find an article.
That would be, I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love that. So, yes, ma'am.
I don't mention
Go
my
ahead.
husband much because, I don't know, but he did a lot of work in that area.
I would love to get that.
Okay.
Thank you. Sister Teresa.
I was just gonna comment, I don't know if everybody knows it, but Benjamin Bilal recorded the Quran in English, and you can order a CD from Amazon, and I just have that playing in my car constantly. And you'll get the Quran a few times during Ramadan. I mean, you'll get the whole Quran.
Yes.
But you can also download it.
I see.
It's an app.
Oh, I see.
When you download it on your phone, on the app, and you can read the Quran, but you can also play it.
Yes.
And it's Benjamin Bilal's voice.
I see.
And he is very articulate.
I see.
He pronounces every syllable of every word. And he reads it with expression. So you listen to it like it's a story you never heard before. But it's you can download that on your phone and be able to listen to the Quran in English. I know my husband and I ride in the car sometimes, he'll say something, we're like, did you just hear what he said? Now all this time we've been reading, but you didn't hear it.
Yes, ma'am. That reminds me to say that one of the things Imam Muhammad said many years ago was, if you want to become more comfortable with Quranic language, he said, get you something and play the Quran in the background all the time. He said, don't even play it where you even notice it, but play it, because you are noticing it, because it's happening in your environment. And I know that to be true because my son and I would get up, and he's very meticulous. I don't know if you know Jonathan. He's a very meticulous guy, So while he's doing his meticulous thing, I put the Quran tape on, and every now and then he'll come on, he'll see what chapter is reciting, and he'll go get his Quran, and because he's pretty good in Arabic. But so anyway, but you really can become more comfortable, because really the ultimate is for us to read the Quran for ourselves, right? And what if we could do that? But you could at least, my Arabic is not good. I know yours is pretty good. Mine ain't nowhere near that. But I listen to you. I know. But anyway, at least I can read it, and now and then, when somebody's reciting, I can remember where, and that's because of that environmental thing. Now think about it. A baby can't speak Chinese, Arabic, French, or nothing when he's born, or she's born. You can take that baby born to a Chinese couple and bring him over here down the street, and he ain't gonna speak Chinese. He's gonna be speaking Ebonics, all because the babies learn from the environment, and you don't know they're learning. They hearing you talk and everything. You hear him say, "Yeah, baby, you hear what they just said? Yeah, fool, they've been listening to you for all that time. Something better come out." And so it's same with language. That's what you call immersion. You really want to learn a language? Immerse yourself. Go to that country, and you think about all these people come from other countries, and they're speaking like they didn't know English when they came over here, but they had to speak it in order to function.
There's a brother in Pastor, and he came from, I think it was Iraq.
Yes.
He came to the Masjid where I was. The guy came and introduced him to me and wanted to know if he could be in residence. I said, well, yeah, I think he can come, but he's going to be like the other brother.
Right.
So before I left, I used to take him to the prison. He could hardly speak English. Now when you call him, the English is fluent because he went to school and studied 2, 3 languages, mostly from Africa.
Yeah, that's true. I know that to be true.
I said, man, I can understand every word he says, man. So he dedicated himself. He was in the environment. He immersed himself in the environment because he had to function.
Yes, sir.
In this society.
We in the school we had in Milwaukee, at least 50% of our students were they were from Kenya. They were they were from Somalia. They were in Kenya in the camps, but they were Somali Bantu. They were just like us. Somalia was one of the places where the slaves were sent. But when that got cut off, then those people who were brought there, they just set up shop in Somalia, even though they were from Zambia or someplace like that. They didn't look like the traditional Somalian. They had kinky hair and broad noses, whereas the average Somalian, sharp features,
Remember the brother that came last year, the young brother that was leading us?
Yes.
And he was from Somalia.
Is that right?
One night, and I had my dashiki on that I got from Sister
Jannah?
Jay. No,
Jay.
Yeah, Sister Jay, and also Anissa Dewan.
Yes.
And he came and looked at me. He said, "You look like you from home." If you looked at him, he
Yes.
looked just like us.
Yes. Yeah, they were brought there. They have similarities. They were brought there in the slave, and they were treated in that society just like we were treated, trying to make it in America, in the land of plenty. They were treated the same way, and they had laws and rules that said they couldn't intermarry, all that. Same thing that we went through. But anyway, 50% of our students were from Somalia, Somali Bantu, they say. And most of them, they never went to school. They didn't go to school, these kids. But they come over there and they already know 3 languages. They would outstrip our students all the time. Because the brain was already studious and everything, because they spoke Mai, which is their language, which is not written, by the way. And they spoke whatever the language was in Kenya. And they also spoke Somali. And many of them spoke Arabic. There was a woman working in our kitchen. She was a grandmother. Aziza was her name. And Aziza was so, when we be in there teaching classes, come down the cafeteria, so Aziza would stop working and just listen, because she couldn't even speak English that well. And she finally got some of us to start teaching her how to write English. Guess what I found out? She was fluent in Arabic. Why? Because she had worked, when they left Somalia, they were in Saudi Arabia for a time. She spoke fluent, and we never knew until one day I was trying to teach Arabic to the kids, and she was getting on their case, and I heard her teach. I said, "Hold up, Aziza, you know how to read?" She says, "Yes." You know, she couldn't speak English that well, but she spoke fluent Arabic, and she was such a student. She had people in the school that worked there teaching her how to write and how to speak and everything. So yeah, if you have that mentality, Arabic wouldn't be a problem. Quranic Arabic wouldn't be a problem. I know it's time to close out.
Let me say something. Let's go back to the forgiveness part.
Yes.
You worked in this role. The most dynamic situation that you can be in is working with human beings. That's really the good.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And if you let that stuff weigh on you, and you have to deal with that first, it'd be very difficult not.
Absolutely.
Here's what I do. I know I can't read nobody's heart. I recognize that, you know. And so because of that, I know I can't totally forgive him. Only Allah can do that. You know?
I think Allah's the only one who can do that.
Yeah. So, but you have to learn how to manage
Yes.
the situation. You know?
Right.
No matter what they say, as long as they don't do something real crazy, then I get real crazy too. No matter what they say, or how, if I feel like they're trying to inhibit this community.
Yes.
As long as they're not over with it, they keep it covert. Now that's the most dangerous person, covert, because it's always there.
Yes.
But you know, as long as they keep that stuff underneath the surface, that's fine. Now we can get back to Prophet Muhammad and that guy who killed Hamza. They have this thing called the O1 series. So they show this guy. I think Bilal brings him to the Prophet, and the Prophet forgives him, but say, "Look, stay out of my sight. Don't bring him in my sight."
That was straight.
That's what he said.
That was straight.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That was there's really two people that the prophet, I'm gonna say, was a challenge. The other one was him.
Oh yeah.
And he went to her one day. Now, just for him talking to her was an achievement. But he said, "Hen, how are things going?" She said, "I got 2 complaints." She said, "I don't want to cover my hair. I don't want that black guy going up on top of the Kaaba calling me the other day." That's what she told Prophet Muhammad.
Good God, man.
You know what he said? He said, "There are beautiful colors that you can put on your hair." This is what he said. And then he said, "The one going on top of the Kaaba, he's going to paradise." and the tone, even reading it in English, the tone that I got was, you need to try to make amends with him.
Yeah.
Try to get used to Bilal going on top of that Kaaba.
Yeah. Well, you know, African Americans, you know, I told you what Imam Muhammad said about forgiving white people. You know, and really, if we forgave white people, it don't have anything to do with the ones who did what they did to our ancestors. So to even try to do that, Imam said that's just not it's not reasonable to try to do it. And I think I was trying to make a point when I said that I found that, and I got that from it was a man who was a priest, and he had come to our school, and he wrote an article in the school newspaper about forgiveness. And he said that. He said, I found in all of my working with people and trying to help them get better, I have a hard time getting them to forgive themselves. You know, they can forgive everybody. But the reason why they can't get better is they can't forgive themselves. You know, and yes, now why is that so hard? Why is it a person can't forgive themselves? What is the problem? You know, I think that when you talk about forgiving somebody else, you ain't really forgive them. Not fully. Like it comes off. It's kind of like what the prophet was with him and with the man who killed Hamza. I mean, it's real. We're human beings. You know, if a person has done that, how am I sure he's not going to do it again? I'm not Allah. I don't know. So I'm just going to totally give in and totally trust this person when they've already, you know, old folks just tell me when I was growing up, the only way you know what a mule will do is what a mule's already done. See?
Forgiveness is that you totally, trust this person.
Totally trust the person?
Already, but a person can, I feel like they can earn your trust back.
Ah.
If you feel somebody, you just can't say all of a sudden, okay, now I trust you now.
Okay.
Yeah, but you're at least giving that person an opportunity.
Now you're saying something different, sister. We're talking earning now.
The same thing I said before.
Well, yeah, but you're adding to it because if I say I forgive you and then you're going to have to earn my trust back, that's the way it should be. Because we got a controversy going on right now in our association, ma'am knows it, of a person who has not acted very well in our community. And now certain people are trying to say that, you know, he should have certain positions. But we understand that when a person is forgiven, then they have to earn their trust. You know, we don't bestow trust on people. You have to earn it. Okay? Nobody should be able to walk in and take Imam Khalil's place and we don't know this person. He may have all kind of degrees and everything, but we don't know you, man. So that's the way it should be. Forgiveness for a human being, I believe, is I can take it to a certain point. Now you've got to, not someone, that other person. But I agree with you that we have to do a certain amount of that because it affects me. I can't even function because I can't get past the fact that this person did me wrong. And I think the average one of us in here, probably all of us, agree with that. Or we wouldn't be sitting in here.
You know what, brother? I heard the old people say, forgive, but don't forget.
That's what I say about keeping one eye open. All closed eyes ain't sleep. Yes, ma'am.
Forgiving yourself is difficult, but I noticed that with people who give service to humanity and nurses and things like myself and doctors and mayors and things, you can give and try to help everybody else, and sometimes you neglect yourself. The hardest thing is to take good care of yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
And do what you need to do.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's hard for me because I nursed and took care of a lot of people, and people, not being a nurse, they were saying I was one of them, but to take care of myself, it's a hard task.
Yes, ma'am. We're so in our heart, deep in our deepest thoughts, we don't totally see ourselves as worthy. And that's, sir.
Take it like a worse one when it comes to the show.
Yeah. That's why a lot of caretakers have to have counselors and everything, right? Especially psychologists.
Need one every man. He's a psychologist. I mean, he's another.
But listen. But the Muslim, if we read the Quran, and if we enact and live the Quran, we shouldn't have that problem. Because God says, even if your sin is bigger than the whole earth and you come and ask, He will forgive you. But we can't progress because we can't forgive our own self. And you figure, if I'm like this, other people are like that too. But God He's all forgiving, most merciful. This is the last thing I'm going to say. God says in the Quran very clearly, His mercy goes out ahead of everything. And the prophet said, even His acts of goodness couldn't guarantee him going into paradise. So they asked him, what would? He said, the mercy of God. But you have some people who believe if you commit a sin, you're going to burn in hellfire forever. You got Muslims believe that. Because, and I was just reading Yusuf Ali's commentary when I came across that. He said that some scholars say that where it says you will be in the hellfire, and the word is currently doing, I think, forever. And then it says, next verse it'll say, except as Allah wills, something like that. So it said the scholars are still debating that. Some say the will of God says that you never going to, hellfire ain't going to be forever because God don't will it. But then there's others that say that first one is right, that once you commit the sin and everything, you're going to burn in hellfire forever. So you got to know there's people that still think that way. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, there's a hadith that says that in the judgment that all those who have committed sin, and the sin is of such enormity, their souls were put into the lake of fire. That's what it says. I don't know if you read this hadith. And it said because of God's mercy, each one of those souls would be taken out according to what good deeds they had. Then it said, but if we get to the last one, so he ain't got no good deeds. Right? Yes. But the mercy of God, according to the hadith, that soul will be taken out, even though it has no good, did no good acts. And then it goes on to say, but his soul would be so charred by the burning, he would have to be cast into the lake of fire before he's put into paradise. Now, to me, that's a wonderful religion that know that our God, Allah, is so merciful that there's room for everybody. Now, but who are we to be judging people? That's the problem. We're judging everybody. We don't say it, but we measure anybody by ourselves. And who makes us the measurement of what's best? But God's saying his mercy goes out ahead of everything. That means that we're going to get to paradise because of God's mercy. It ain't because, and there's a hadith that says that there was a man that before the judgment, he was going to be asked, do you want to be judged on your good deeds and everything you did in life? Or do you want to be judged based on the mercy of God? And it said that he thought about all that he did. Oh, he read Quran. He fasted. He did this good. So he said, I want to be judged on what I did. And it said, God said, drag him on his face and go to the hellfire.